this going. Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order. And before we get started, let's introduce everyone on this meeting. I'm Sandy Brock. When I call your name, please confirm that you can hear me by verifying that you are present. Starting with the commissioners, Travis,
Present.
Jonathan,
Present.
and Patrick.
Present.
And our staff is Leah. You here by yourself tonight? Oh, Jan's here.
Yep, she
I'm sorry.
hopped on, but I'm here
Okay.
and I can hear you.
All right, thank you. And we also have Jan on too.
And I'm here.
So, thank you. I'll go through the speakers, and if you can unmute yourself and just acknowledge that you can hear us, so that we can make sure that the connection's okay. For the Westboro Road water main replacement, Emily Church. Is she on yet, Leah? Or
She's actually on double.
Unmute.
Double as a panelist. They're both muted.
okay. All right, Emily, if you get a chance to figure out what's going on, if you could unmute, that would be great. We'll come back to you after I finish going through other presenters. For 95 North Street, Leah.
That's me.
Yeah, I figured you'd be able to respond to that one. 157 Pleasant Street, we have Jay Verney and Jamie.
Good
Verney.
evening, this is Jay Verney. Jamie's not able to join, but I'll be covering the presentation tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Then we have 118.5 Old Westboro Road and 8 Morgan Drive. And we have Scott Jordan, Kevin Quinn, and Rob DeVerde. If you folks are on, if you could unmute and just let us know that you can hear us.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, thank you. All right, this open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely via Zoom pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order as extended on June 15th, 2021, February 12th, 2022, July 16th, 2022, and yes, March 29th, 2023. Access information for the public has been provided on the town website. This meeting is being recorded. Please remember to mute your phone or your computer when you are not speaking. If you are using the dial-in by telephone feature, you can mute yourself by pressing *6. As chair, I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. Please note that you will not have screen sharing privileges, but staff can display any visuals per your cue. After speakers conclude their remarks, I will invite each commissioner to provide any comments, questions, or motions. After the commissioners have spoken, I will allow public comments to be spoken by participants. Participants must raise hand feature by clicking on the hand icon at the bottom right of the Zoom menu bar to indicate they would like to speak. If you're using the dial-in by telephone feature, please press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute you when you are called on. Participants who raise their hand will be recognized one at a time and will be promoted to speak. Public comments will be followed by commission and applicant responses. Finally, each vote taken will be conducted by a roll call vote. As a reminder, the commission is concerned with state and town wetlands and stormwater regulations. Concerns outside this purview need to be addressed by appropriate boards. For example, road conditions must be addressed with the select board, and traffic concerns must be addressed with the planning board. All right, having done that, it is now 7:07. Do we have any action items, Leah, that we could take care of?
Yeah, before you do that, we do have a hand up from Emily from earlier, so maybe we can test her audio
Oh,
now.
okay. Certainly. So again, Emily Church, if you can hear us, go ahead and respond.
Good evening. This is actually Tom Mahana from Ty and Bond. I didn't realize that the link that Emily provided was under her name. So I'm actually representing Ty and Bond on the Westboro Road water project. And I believe the second Emily Church you see also probably is Dave Erickson the water superintendent from the Grafton Water District. So I just wanted to let you know that I am in attendance here for Westboro Road.
All right, thank you very much. And Leah, you got that?
Yep.
Okay. And I'll probably just call you Emily for the rest of the meeting because your name's not right in front of me, but I apologize ahead of time. We'll work it out as we go along. All right, Leah.
If you want to just go down the list of action items, that works for me. We will be skipping the March 21 meeting minutes.
Okay, so just the March 7th meeting
Correct.
minutes?
Yep.
All right, so can I have, does anyone on the commission have any comments or questions for the March 7th, 2023 meeting minutes? If I don't hear anyone, can I have a motion to approve those meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve the March 7th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And we will do a roll call vote. And so Patrick, you're on the big screen right now, so you get to go first.
Yes.
Jonathan
Yes.
and Travis.
Yes.
I am also a yes, so the motion carries. All right, next up, we still got 5 minutes. Leah, request for certificate of compliance for 114 Merriam Road.
Yeah, so that one and the last one on the list for 6 Magnolia, both of those we need to bump to our April 18 meeting. They're still not
Okay.
complete.
All right, which just leaves the reissuing of certificate of compliance for 20 William Street. What's going on there?
This was a really old filing, number 52.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they lost the original COC, so they just need a new signature page so they can record it.
All right, that sounds good. And just curiosity, is that something we reached out to them about, or was this something because they're doing something with their property? I'm just curious what
I'm
spawned
throwing
them.
that one to Jan.
They reached out to request a certificate of compliance. I believe they're selling the property.
Okay, I'm just curious because I know in the past we've nudged people who haven't recorded stuff before, but I was just curious. Or haven't gotten their certificate of compliance. That's fine. So this is just reissuing it. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to issue a new original certificate of compliance for 20 William Street.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Jonathan,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
I am also a yes. The motion carries. Okie doke. So any other action items, Leah? Or are we just waiting a couple minutes?
Well, I can, so I had emailed you, Sandy, about 58 Follette Street.
Yep.
So we closed their hearing at our last meeting, and they wanted to provide feedback on our special conditions, which they've done so through me after the fact, but I can't just change what gets issued. So
Nope.
then
No.
I was trying to figure out the best way forward for them. So one piece is that we would need to get in writing that they're willing to not get their permits within the 21-day clock is one
Okay.
piece. And then I was wondering, so would we handle discussing their special conditions as like an action item or a discussion item, or does it need to go through our actual like request to amend an order process, which is a new public hearing with a legal ad and abutter notifications?
So I'll kind of give you what my take is on, is that if we haven't issued those orders yet, the order of conditions, and we are still within that 21 day, we voted to close the hearing and issue the order, correct?
So on a technicality, the words close the hearing were not said, but for all intents and purposes, yes,
Right.
we closed it. Everyone who was observing the meeting would take it to have been closed. And we
Okay.
voted to issue their order and permits with the conditions we discussed that night.
Okay, because I know we can always discuss the conditions after closing the hearing. To me, the key part is what we said around what the motion was, and if the motion included, conditions as discussed or written or whatever. And I know
Yeah.
I read them. So,
Right,
so that's kind of it. I mean, I know we have some flexibility on discussion, but based on that, we not only closed the hearing, whether we said it or not, we closed the hearing, but we also made a motion. Part of the motion was the conditions that we discussed.
right.
So,
I also,
so then,
I
yeah,
also wasn't sure, like, normally if someone wants to amend something, there's something that exists to amend. We haven't even written this one up yet.
correct.
So I didn't know if we proceed with issuing what was said, get a written okay to. Well, then we wouldn't need the 21-day extension.
Yeah.
Then we would just go through the usual.
Amendment, which would take,
Yeah,
I guess the other way to do it, because we haven't issued it yet, if we got, if the applicant requested, or granted us an extension of the 21 days, we could, actually put it on our agenda that we're going to speak about it. And then we can discuss what the issues are that they had with the conditions. Doesn't mean we're going to change anything. I know we can discuss it because we haven't issued it yet. My only tripping point is the fact that it was part of the motion to end the meeting. That's all.
mhm.
So I don't know if any of the other commissioners have any kind of take on that. Jonathan?
This was during the last meeting.
Yeah, March 21.
What was the wording used? And they didn't, so that at the time they didn't, so two questions. What was the wording used from our side? And then, because I know we didn't get the meeting minutes for that yet. We just got 3-7. So
So the actual, the literal motion, I'm not sure, but I know Sandy read through my list of conditions.
Yep.
We did a little bit of back and forth with the applicant if they had any questions or they needed anything clarified. And then we voted to issue their order. Then they clarified, were we also issuing bylaw permits in the same motion? And we said yes. But yeah, it would have been the order and permits as discussed.
Right. And I read through the conditions that we had. Now, granted, being remote and reading them quickly doesn't give a person all the opportunity to review it and so forth. And so that's a little bit, and I know that they're looking for some changes, and I am open to like discussion on that, just because if there's something that they can't do for some reason, we can always change things or revise it. It just becomes what Lee is asking, in which I don't have a really good sense, is because it happened at let's call it an awkward timing, that we're not sure if we have to say, let's just issue it and then they can do an amendment, or can we just extend, request that we can extend the period and not have to issue the order of conditions within the 21 days. And then, because we can always discuss conditions after we close a hearing. It's just, we can't take, we cannot take any new information. All right. So we can't receive a new plan. We can't do any of that. We can still deliberate within the commission on those conditions. We just can't take in new information once you close the hearing.
Okay.
So
Sandy, would new information be the fact that they're objecting to some of the conditions?
Well, if they're not, I mean, they're not changing their plans at all. and they're not
Right.
giving testimony. They're just saying, oh, this one's a problem. So,
Okay.
So if it
Yeah.
helps at all, most of what they're looking to do is just to accommodate their potential timeline easier. That's the bulk of what they're trying to accomplish. But there are a couple pieces that they would like us to just entirely strike through.
right, and, I probably, again, would have to look through each one.
Right,
I mean, I don't have a problem with the scheduling part of it. Those conditions were in there, and I know I read through them ahead of time, and they seemed like there was reasons why we're doing each one that Leah recommended. So,
so I guess the first question is, do you feel like discussing this needs a public hearing or can just be on an agenda? That's the first piece.
I think it can be on just an agenda, but to be honest, this particular set of circumstances haven't come up before.
Right. And
A-
so
and-
go
go
ahead.
Yeah, and I was sorry.
My second question is just who would be the best party to ask the logistics of this? Is that like a DEP question, an MACC question, a town council question?
So, probably a DEP question because it's procedural. I know, I mean, we could check in with MACC, but we may get a couple of different opinions. But if DEP gave us said, oh, no, you have to do this, I would follow what DEP said because it's
Okay.
more procedural than anything else. And all we're trying to do is just, so we don't, my perspective is I don't have any problem having these discussions and listening to the applicant, give their reasons why. My biggest thing is I just know from procedure wise, I want to make sure we're on solid footing. That's all. So,
Okay, so I'll talk to DEP, but hopefully we could get the 21 days extended and then
Yep.
discuss the conditions at a future meeting and go
Right.
from there.
right. So they are more than welcome to, and it'll be, obviously on our agenda, and they're more than welcome to listen in. They just can't give any testimony.
Okay,
If we have a question or something, that's fine, but we don't want to be perceived as having discussion or deliberation that we would have in an open meeting, meaning no new information coming in.
okay.
All right. And if anyone else on the commission, I'll go real quick. So Jonathan, do you have any more question on this? I think we've got a next couple steps.
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. Travis?
No, and I didn't vote on this one either.
Okay, thank you for reminding us. And then Patrick.
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. All right. So Leah, you got the next couple of steps and we'll see what DEP says. Do you just reach out to the circuit rider?
Yeah,
Okay. Sounds like a path forward. So, okay.
okay, thank you.
Having said that, move on to the first public hearing at 7:15, couple minutes late. Apologize for that. So pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a request for determination of applicability for the construction of a water main extension at Westboro Road between Pine Street and Willard Street. And I'm going to have to say who's here to speak to that because I know you already gave your name, but I already forgot it.
Thank you. That's fine. My name is Tom Mahana. I'm a principal at Ty and Bond. So I'm here working in lieu of Emily Church, my colleague, but also tonight is in attendance is Dave Erickson. He's the superintendent for the Grafton Water District. I'll just give you a very brief overview of the project. This project's we're actually submitting this on this request for determination on behalf of the Water District and the town of Grafton This project's actually a three-party arrangement between the town, the water district, and Tufts University to replace the existing water main that provides water service to the school. So
Okay, so I need to take a step back right here. When you, is Tufts listed as either an owner or an applicant?
No.
Okay, and so I like to disclose at this point that the company I work for, we do a lot of work for Tufts. So, and as a part owner of that company, we do receive, payment from Tufts on a regular basis. That is a conflict of interest. What I'm not sure of is because this water main will be serving their campus, if that constitutes actually a conflict of interest. But I do want to, because they're not an applicant, they're just receiving the benefit of this water line. I do want to disclose that and make sure it's part of the record. And if you have any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them. And as a representative for the applicants, if you wish, I am happy to recuse myself. I think they're not directly involved in the sense they're not part of the application. I don't think there's a conflict, but I want to just disclose that.
I don't have any issues. I don't
Okay.
see it as a perceived conflict. Yes, you are correct that this water main services the campus, so they benefit from that. When the project is complete, it becomes part of the Grafton Water District's water system. So all the work that we're talking about today is going to be completed within the public right of way. However, Tufts is providing, they are providing a financial contribution towards this project.
Okay. And I would also say, not just to you, Tom, but if the water district or the town has any issues with it, please let me know. I'm happy to recuse myself. At this point, I think it's an arm's length and I don't think there is a conflict. So, but again, Leah, just wanted to note it and disclose it for the record. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so essentially this project is installation of approximately 2,400 feet of new 12-inch water main. It'll extend from near the intersection of Pine Street and end along Westboro Road, known as Route 30, and will end near Willard Street. And as part of the project, we have to cross over the existing 24-inch RCP culvert located at the Pine Street intersection. This part of the roadway was when it was reconstructed, when the whole intersection was reconstructed, this part of the roadway was built up. So the culvert itself is approximately, the invert of the culvert is about 10 feet below the road surface. So the new water main is going to be installed again within the roadway above the culvert at approximately 5 feet of depth to cover. So there'll be installation of this water main will have no impact on not only the culvert, but the adjacent wetlands. We will install, as you can see on the plans, we are installing erosion control measures on either side of the roadway. The project itself is expected to start construction probably early May. It will have a relatively quick construction schedule. We expect it'll be done substantially completed with the installation of the water main and all the connections to the existing services to the buildings on the campus by probably by early June. So the trench itself, like I said, pretty much the entire project will all be completed within the roadway. It'll be a narrow trench about 6 feet deep, about 3 to 4 feet wide, and the trenches will be paved at a minimum of once a week, if not more frequent, with new asphalt. Once the project has been substantially completed and after a minimum of 90-day settlement period, we'll come back and we're going to repave the trenches. We're actually going to propose, working with the Department of Public Works in town, we're going to complete we're going to mill half the roadway and complete an overlay. So that work will occur later in the fall, or probably late fall. So all of this, the entire project should be we're expected to be completed by all within this construction season.
All right, and I believe you know that because you're working within 25 feet of the wetlands, we'll have to have a vote to grant a waiver for work within that no disturb zone. We'll do that in a bit, and then let me go around the commissioners and see if anyone has any comments or questions. Jonathan.
When you're doing the actual replacement, how deep is the water line? You said you were under RCP, or is it over an RCP?
When we cross the culvert, we're going to cross over it. The typical water main trench is the new water main gets installed with 5 feet of cover, so it's a 12-inch water main. So the bottom of the trench is usually about around 6 to 6.5 feet deep. But we'll be high enough above the culvert to be able to cross above that and not disturb that.
Okay. And is the roadway reopened at the end of every shift where they infill the trench, and you mentioned paving it a couple times a week, so you're not stockpiling soil that's on the side of the road? Like, I'm just wondering if there's any temporary stockpiling of materials while you're doing the work, or if it's going to be closed at the end of every shift to allow for traffic both ways.
We're expecting to be able to maintain at least one-way traffic during while we're doing the work. This obviously is a very busy road. We're not detouring, we're not shutting the road down. So in the operation, the contractor that'll be doing the work is a contractor that we've had a lot of experience with. They typically will, when they excavate, they'll excavate the material into a dump truck, install the new pipe, and then backfill from the dump truck. So there's usually not a lot of material that's stockpiled along the road while they're installing the water main. And a typical open trench excavation is usually no more than 2 lengths of pipe. So it's usually, and the length of pipe's about 20 feet. So there's usually no more than 40 feet of trench that'll be open at any one time. And then the road, and then at the end of every day, the road will be completely backfilled and open back for two-way traffic. There may be some occurrences depending on where they're at in the project, where they may have to install a steel plate over the trench at the end of the day. But every day the roadway will be completely open back up again for traffic.
Okay, thank you very much. That answers my question.
Thanks. And Travis, any other questions?
Nope, nothing from me.
Thank you. Patrick?
No, I don't have any.
Thank you. I only have one quick question, just maybe because of the scale of the plan. Is any part of the water line off of pavement?
Yeah, so a little bit there on, it looks like it's, as we're heading up towards the campus on the south side of the road, we're trying to maybe get a little bit off the shoulder. Once we get past the road, the guardrail, we may try to install part of that water main just off the shoulder, just to give a little bit more room for traffic and kind of minimize the impact to the roadway. There is a drain pipe that does extend in that shoulder, so we may be off that, and that's around station 800 or so for a couple hundred feet. And then once we get onto back into the campus at Wildlife Drive, we'll be back in the roadway for the remainder of the project.
And just curious, in that area where you might be slightly off, is there a wetland abutting that? I don't know if Jan or whoever's running it, if you could zoom in a little bit. My curiosity here is just if you're going to bump off of the paved way and you're abutting a wetland, that's all.
No, that area is all upland. So
Okay.
we're outside. I think our lines on the plans kind of show the limit a little bit.
Yep.
And that area right now is kind of like it's a grassed area. I
Yep.
think they actually maintain it. I think the school actually maintains
Yeah.
the lawn in that
Yeah.
area.
And I know when I walk up to the, or used to walk up to the commuter rail, I would walk up along that side of the roadway, so. That's all all my question was, is if, where the part where it's coming off the roadway, if it's not adjacent to a wetlands, my only concern was, stabilization of that area, but if it's not near a wetlands, I don't have any other further questions. Based on that, do you have anything else to present? Otherwise, I will open it up to the public. So if anyone is on the call on this meeting that is curious about this project or has any questions, please raise your hand. We'd be happy to direct them to the correct person. And as I say that, please raise your hand, and we're going to actually move on to making a motion on a waiver that's required because you are doing some work within the 25-foot no disturb. Leah, anything else you have as far as this
Yeah,
this RDA?
they also meet exemptions. The state one would be at 310 CMR 10.02 2B 2I, and the town one is in section 3 of
Okay.
our bylaw. It's for utility work. So would want to reference those if we're issuing a negative determination.
Yeah, and that's just the finding on that. Okay. Having said that, thank you. If there's nothing else, Leah, I'll ask for a motion regarding the waiver for working within the no disturb zone.
I'll make a motion to grant a waiver for work within the 25-foot buffer, no disturb zone for Westboro Road.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote. Travis, you got the big picture, so you get to go first.
Yes.
Jonathan
Yes.
and Patrick.
Yes.
I am also a yes. The motion carries and the waiver is granted. Leah, anything from the public at this point?
Nothing from the public, and I just had one condition that they have a section in their RDA entitled protective measures, so I was just gonna reference that those shall be implemented during construction.
Okay, go back to the applicant. Do you have any kind of issues with those, with that particular condition?
No, that's those are standard details that have included as part of the construction contract, and we're planning on implementing those.
All right, thank you. If we have nothing from the public at this point, I'll entertain a motion to issue a negative determination on this request for determination. And if in that motion, if you could reference findings that this is exempt under the sections Leah referenced, and to also have a condition that basically will follow, I'm losing my place where you said where it was, that it's following the outline of the actions that you referenced. Okay, now that I've totally kind of confused everyone, do I have a motion? Sorry about
Yep.
that. I think I'm looking at the wrong one and not at Leah's report, so.
I think I got it. I'll make a motion
Okay.
to close hearing and issue negative determination. Also noting the project is exempt from state wetland regulations and town bylaw as referenced because it's a utility project. Also with conditions that protective measures outlined in the plan as discussed are implemented.
All right, thank you. That sounds very good. Better than I
That
did.
work?
Yeah, that works. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Roll call vote. Jonathan,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Travis.
Yes.
I am also a yes. The motion carries. Good luck with the project. And you
Great.
will be impacting my daily drives and commuting with this. So it's good to know the heads up of what's happening here. So
Okay.
good luck with that.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much to everybody. Good night.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Leah, so you're going to be up next, but let me read this in. Okay. It is after 7:30, so we're going. Okay. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Conservation Commission hold a public hearing to act upon the request for determination of applicability for a temporary crossing for soil testing at 95 North Street. It's yours to present.
Alrighty, other side of the table for a change.
Yep.
So Jan's gonna pull up the plan that I threw a few things on here for you guys. So this is our park, 95 North Street. We need to do some test pits to verify locations for the parking lot and the stormwater infrastructure that they're looking to put in. So the 4 red dots you see are where they would like to do the test pits. The blue line that I have drawn is the driest path to those spots that we have scoped out. The light blue is where we will need to cross the wetlands. DPW plans on renting a mini excavator to minimize the footprint of the machinery. If they were to have done it with the backhoe that we have, that the town has, it would have been much larger. So we're gonna rent that mini excavator for one day. I also put a picture in the lower left-hand corner. The way this would be oriented would be if you were standing at about the second red dot into the property and you're facing back towards North Street. So I just wanted to include this to show you guys that, of course, weather dependent, but there are dry sections out there right now that hopefully we can utilize. This would be a one-day thing, and we will have plywood on hand should they need to cross where it is actually wet. And then we will also need the waiver from the 25-foot no disturb just because of having to cross.
Okay, so let's go around if people have questions. I have one quick question. I know there's some exceptions for soil testing within the Wetlands Protection Act, but I think because you're crossing, that's why you're in front of
Yep,
us.
exactly.
Okay. All right, thank you. So let's go around to the commission. Travis?
No questions.
All right, Patrick
No questions.
and Jonathan.
No questions.
Yeah, I think it's fairly straightforward. If anyone is on the call from the public, if anyone has any questions or comments, please raise your hand and we will call on you. In the meantime, we will go ahead and do a vote on the requested waiver. Do I have a motion for that waiver?
Motion. Oh, go ahead, Travis.
No, go for it, Patrick.
Motion to grant the waiver for work within the 25-foot protector buffer.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. On the waiver, we'll do a roll call vote on that. Travis,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
and Jonathan.
Yes.
I am also yes. And the motion carries for the waiver. I am not going to ask Leah to make any recommendations on conditions or anything else. I'll just go through the commissioners. If anyone has any conditions they would like to add to this, my only thought is that, you know, as far as when you're crossing the wetlands, that it's dry. You know, using plywood's okay if it's not too wet, but that they need to make sure that they're doing it in relatively dry time. And it's not really for the year, but just the condition of the soils. So I'll quickly go around. Jonathan, anything else for any kind of conditions before we do a motion?
No, I think the plan that Leah laid out is pretty straightforward. The plywood would be used in a pinch if needed. The mini excavator is trying to avoid rutting up and causing issues. So I think, you know, as expected, the team is thinking through the concerns. So I don't have any further conditions or concerns with a 1-day test pit exploration type exercise here. Nothing else.
All right, thank you. Travis?
Nope, nothing from me.
Okay, and then Patrick?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Have we had anyone from the public raise their hand?
No.
All right, so not seeing any of that. Can I get a motion to issue a negative determination? Just with the condition that the details outlined in the plan be implemented and that, the crossing isn't made if the wetlands are excessively wet.
I'll make a motion to close hearing and issue negative determination for 95 North Street with conditions as described in the plans and that the crossing's made in dry conditions.
All right, do I have a
feasible.
second? Yep, thank you. Second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Let's see, Jonathan, you're up there, so you're first.
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
and I am also a yes, the motion carries.
Awesome.
Okey-doke.
Thank you.
All right, no problem. As far as the continuations, is there any particular order or do I just start at the top?
Yeah, you can start at the top.
Okay. I just need to go back to my lead sheet. Okay. All righty. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent and application for a Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw for the construction of a house addition in garage at 157 Pleasant Street. And this is a continuation. And I believe James Verney is here to speak on this.
Good evening, everyone. We presented this at the last meeting. This was to put an addition on my son's house. And we are working within the, well, that's great. Thank you. As you can see, there's the addition in the dark squares. You can see the wetland boundary. You can see the proposed erosion control measures. The keep out zone, the do not disturb zone is also put on the site plan. And we had an action item, which was to show where the water line would be rerouted around inside the garage. It's hard to pick out, but you can see the existing water line goes through the new garage. Underneath it, we wanted to simply keep it to the side for maintenance, future maintenance. We are able to route that in a way where we do not have to put it in the do not disturb zone. We have about 12 feet between the do not disturb zone and the side of the garage. And it's pretty simple, straightforward routing plan. So that was the action item that I took down. I've also come to learn that the NOI number did get assigned because the commission was not able to make a motion on this until the NOI number was assigned. There were a couple of comments we got there and we addressed those, and we have updated the paperwork accordingly.
All right, thank you very much. Leah, anything else to add to that?
Just a reminder that we granted the waiver for the no disturb last time.
Thank you
Otherwise,
for
that's all
that.
I have.
Thank you for that piece of information. So this being a public hearing, I'll open it up to the public. If anyone is on this call has any questions or comments on this particular project, please raise your hand and we will call upon you. All right. And it appears that everything has been addressed. And just as far as the special conditions for this, the only thing that we're looking at, which I think we discussed last time, is no disturbance at the existing tree line shall be maintained. And as already stated, there's already signage there. Disturbance areas within the 25-foot no disturb within existing lawns shall be restored, vegetated post-construction. And then we've already seen that the water line has been shown on the plans and is outside the no disturb sign area. So that has been addressed. Those are the conditions. So anything from the public?
Nope.
Okay. I'll quickly just go around to see if anyone has any comments, and then we can move into doing a motion. Jonathan, anything to add?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, Patrick,
Nope, nothing else.
thank you. Travis,
Leah, what were the DEP comments? Do you know?
So they pointed out that the fee multiplier needed to be applied because of riverfront and
Yeah.
the buffer zone to something else that was taken care of. They asked for a narrative about how they meet the performance standards for riverfront. They took care of that.
Okay.
I think there was one more, but it's escaping me.
It
But-
was a check mark in the riverfront. The form just hadn't been checked off correctly. We fixed that.
Yep.
Section B.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing else for me.
all right, that's great. Thank you for that. And if there's nothing from the public, do I have a motion to issue the order of conditions with the special conditions previously mentioned?
I'll make a motion to close hearing for 157 Pleasant Street and issue order of conditions with special conditions as described.
All right, and do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Travis,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
I am also a yes. Motion carries and the order of condition is issued. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much and have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Okay. Alrighty, next up is 118.5. Oh, let me open that up. Go back to here. Okay, pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon notice of intent applications for Grafton Stormwater Bylaw permit, application for Grafton Wetlands Bylaw permit for the construction of a single family homes at 118.5 Old Westboro Road in lots A and B. And Leah, updates on this particular project.
So their peer review comments have been satisfied. They do have revisions that they'll be presenting tonight.
Okay,
And then I'll have a couple comments after that.
sure. Would you like to present what's, so this is Scott. If you'd like to present the updates?
Good evening, Scott Jordan from Ecotech. Yeah, Jan, would you mind putting up Lot A?
Sure.
This will take them one at a time. Lot A was the northerly lot. These are two abutting lots, as you may recall. So Lot A, just quick refresher. Lot A includes a driveway and the house and a well and some grading and of course stormwater management facility in the buffer zone. With regard to the stormwater revisions, I think Kevin Quinn of Quinn Engineering.
Are you able to hear me?
There's Kevin. Kevin, I'll turn this over to you. You're the expert on this.
Thank you, Scott. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Kevin Quinn with Quinn Engineering, on behalf of the applicant, Diverty Builders. My office prepared the plans. We received comments from Graves Engineering and we responded March 28th. Resubmitted plans with a narrative letter that outlined the changes on March 28th. Today we received a comment letter back from Graves Engineering. They seem to be satisfied, but I assume you had that letter, can read that for yourself. One of the comments we understood was that commissioners were concerned about the lack of lid features in the stormwater design. And it's a fair point. We took a look at this, and our experience with lid type designs are that some sites are more accommodating of lid features than others. We've had difficulty on certain sites. This site is certainly a site that's difficult, if possible, to have a complete lid design. So on our plan, in response to the concerns of the commissioners, we've called for a component of bioinfiltration devices at each stormwater infiltration basin. So each basin, you'll see, has an area where we have a bioinfiltration design. And I think what it does is it certainly would provide enhanced uptake of nutrients and pollutants, as might be expected. All stormwater has to pass over those areas there. I'd be happy to answer questions of the commissioners if there's questions on that.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, let's take it one at a time. When you
Okay.
say, Jan, can you zoom into the infiltration system? All right, so yeah, I was looking at this, and when you say, when you talk about loam and grass, what do you mean by that? Is it providing any habitat? Is it a, pollinator? Is there an enhanced planting plan to actually, not only enhance the water quality component of this, but maybe provide some habitat or something else? And I'm just wondering if you have any comments or questions or comments on that.
Right. We have not attempted to create habitat. What we have is 3 feet of bioretention soil that's amenable to bioretention, and obviously a hardwood mulch at the top. And each of the designs call for specific plantings in each of these bioinfiltration areas.
I don't know, Scott, if you can have any comment on kind of the plantings that are proposed and how they work with the wetlands and so forth.
If I may, I'd be happy to address that if I may.
Oh, absolutely.
on-
Please do.
On lot A, Madam Chair, we're calling for switchgrass and red osier dogwood, and I think it's 3 of each. So it's basically in that area, we're calling for 6 specific plantings for that function. These are plantings that we believe are withstand variations in hydrologic conditions, which is kind of a prerequisite for design in infiltration, bioinfiltration features. Is that helpful to what you're asking?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely in the direction. And then please let me know, and just because I didn't compare it to previously, are the check dams, have the check dams been added?
No, those check dams are there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And the basically it's treating and infiltrating the driveway.
Yes, that's the predominant source of runoff from the building itself. Yep.
Okay. Will
Yep.
it be treating anything else from the existing public way or anything else is getting to this particular site? And again,
Well,
we have to issue a waiver, so I'm looking for reasons to do that.
understood. First of all, we never want to introduce water from the roadway onto our property or from our property out onto the roadway. And we do call for grading that intends to enforce that to ensure that site water stays on site and the gutter flow stays in the. As far as the sources of other runoff, that's pretty much it as far as from impervious surfaces. Now, the front area of this, we've got a large leaching area. That'll all be grassed over. So that's going to be, it'll be entirely pervious, and the waters from that will pass over a lawn, but that water, there will be some runoff from that area into this basin.
All right. So let's stick with this particular lot, and let's just go around the commission to see if other people have comments or questions on it. Patrick.
I don't think I have any other comments at this time.
All right. Travis.
On I think it's page 3 of the plan sheet. It notes interior slopes with 4 inches of topsoil, loam, as you all call it, and New England wetland seed mix.
Oh, yeah, yep, right.
Can you explain where the panicum ends and that wetland seed mix begins on
Yeah,
the
right.
actual plan sheet? Is that entire infiltration basin going to be seeded
It
with
is
the
not.
wetland?
No, we're calling
It
for
is not.
mulch over the bioinfiltration area. And that mix that we show you there is on the slopes.
And then the flat area of the infiltration will just be mulch.
In the bioinfiltration area, yeah, it's shredded hardwood mulch with the plantings.
Okay.
So I guess I'm not following that. So there's 2 check dams, and then you show the panicum and the cornice.
Yep.
So I guess everything on the left of that, it says infiltration basin. That's
Correct.
the part that will be mulch.
Correct. What it is, the slope sides leading from the vicinity of the driveway down to the basin and on the other side as well, those will be treated as we call for on that detail on the slopes.
So the
So,
slopes of it.
yeah, so you're
Okay.
calling out a wetland mix on the slopes?
Yeah.
Okay, so just in my experience, you really don't want a wetland mix on the slopes because you will not have a very good growth, just because your slopes and based on, this is an infiltration system, you're not going to have water on a regular basis going up the slope. And,
Right.
and just for Travis's kind of information, that wetland mix, are you using New England
Yeah.
wetlands
Yes.
plants wetland mix?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically it's a pretty robust seed mixture, and so you have a wide variety of plants in it, so that you can basically get self-selecting type of thing.
Right.
Typically, side slopes you want to do, there's several different mixes, and you can have erosion control mixes, you can have other mixes. It's just my only take on that is that you may not want to put a wetland mix on a slope. I don't know if Scott has an opinion on that. And I think, having those mixes are absolutely fine. They work very well. I mean, if anything, I would put the wetland mix on the bottom of the basin, depending upon, what the soils are and how quickly it drains.
Mm.
And having, the whole kind of shredded hardwood mulch is there so it doesn't float. It's still a mulch and it's not a native type of system.
And it needs
And
Yep.
yeah, and so I don't know if on the applicant side, if anyone has kind of a different take on that. From the homeowner's perspective, mulch will keep some of the invasives down, but you might want to be looking to do a more of a planted basin. And again, I'm not talking about, putting in a whole, live plants type of thing, but using a seed mix. So,
Right. One of our experiences with lid is we have these, they kind of run riot. If a homeowner isn't pretty good about sorting out the vegetation in the area, we end up with chaos of growth. The mulch is good in terms of keeping that kind of riot of plantings going. It keeps it a little under control.
right, but it's
It's-
still not a vegetated system.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Travis.
As sediment gets into the basin, something will start to grow in that mulch eventually, unless
Yep.
it's constantly pulled out
Correct.
and new
One of the-
mulch is added.
The truth is, lid requires a certain diligence on the part of a homeowner to maintain, and certainly keeping sediment out of any basin is kind of part of what a homeowner is going to have to do.
I mean, actually, for the homeowner's perspective, having it a healthy vegetated system is easier where you mow it once or twice a year
Mm.
and you let it go.
Mhm.
You don't want woody plants in there, but yeah, and it's always a challenge depending upon what's around there, what's in the wetlands, if there's invasives nearby and that type of stuff. You always have that. But from just a whether you're talking habitat or whether you're talking about water quality, having a vegetated system is much better. It can take, I mean, the whole idea is to have a self-sustaining system where you don't have a lot of maintenance, and a healthy vegetation takes a little bit longer to get there, but it's easier in some ways to maintain than having to dig out and replace mulch every year or every other year. So
Is it preferable to the board that we put just loam and a wetland mix in there?
I think that would probably be, I would think that would enhance the water quality of this basin. And it again, it depends upon how wet and dry it is which plants will take.
Yep.
And then, and hopefully you don't have a lot of invasives there, but the key maintenance to that is just mowing it a couple times a year, not to allow woody vegetation in there. But that's part of kind of the maintenance that the homeowner will have to do. And they can augment the plantings and do wildflowers and other type of plantings to have it more aesthetically pleasing if that's what they're looking to do. So treat this as a feature in their yard as opposed to just this one function.
Excuse me, 1 second. Kevin, do you want to, or Scott, do you want to bring up what we were talking about the invasives?
I think we should work through the stormwater comments, Rob, first. So lot A, just a reminder, folks, it's lot B, which we'll be discussing momentarily, that actually requires the waiver. I know the commission is looking at the lots kind of in conjunction, but I think we'll talk about lot B, address the stormwater comments that Graves had, that Kevin had worked through.
As far as approach, as far as an approach from a stormwater particular, I mean, I don't really have an issue with what's being shown. It's more just some of the details, and again, some of the enhancements that we're kind of looking for, because we are, going to have to make a vote on the waiver. That's all.
If it's helpful, I can review lot B.
Why don't we move on to lot B and see what's going on there?
Okay, all right. Lot B, very similar design to lot A. Again, we've got a bioinfiltration area at the end of the swale, a couple of check dams to capture junk and smooth out the flow. Again, this has the same detail with the chips, the mulch, and we have also 6 plantings, switchgrass, and the dogwood as well in that area. So it's very similar design.
And Scott, were you, or I forget who was mentioning about invasives and so forth?
Yeah, Rob, did you want to jump in on that real quick, and then I can?
Yeah. Well, one idea that we had for lot B was when we were originally doing perk tests on the lot, we noticed that there were invasives, and I actually had Scott look into it, and he brought it up to my attention, and I acknowledged that, like, I saw what he was talking about. Scott, you want to tell him what? I can't remember the name. It's wisteria.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, sure. This area, lot A and B, and just to clarify, 8 Morgan Drive, which we'll be discussing later, does not contain this particular plant, is quite overgrown with Asian wisteria, extensive in the buffer zone. Vines are choking trees, and vine shoots, that are about 3 or 4 feet tall, are also prominent, and to the extent where there's virtually nothing else in the understory in the buffer zone here. So I did mention this to Rob and Grace, and we did we had Davy Resource Group take a look at this. And they do have a treatment plan for this. And I just texted Clayton Morse from Davy Resource Group, and I think he's going to jump on. Now, he's not an attendee. He may have to raise his hand. If you could let him in, if you see that, Leah. He can get into the specifics. He's a licensed professional to do this. Basically, it's a cut and dab of the vines. And then he has another approach to cut down the sort of the shrubby shoots. And then treat those with a sorry, I'm looking for the term he used. Amine herbicide, which is a low volatility type of herbicide. And that's what they use near wetlands. So what we would probably talk about doing is having this treatment done on the remaining portion of the buffer zone that is not developed. So the 25-foot, of course, we're not working in the 25-foot, but there's also a little strip of vegetation that shall remain on Lot B to the south and to the north of the house. There's also a few stems, not a ton, of Tartarian honeysuckle, which he will treat. And there's just a little bit of Japanese knotweed in the south central portion of Lot B that he has a treatment plan for. Clayton, are you available? Let me see. Let me text him. I apologize. But this is important.
You know what, if it's helpful, why don't I go ahead and if the commission is settled with lots A and B, I can briefly go over the stormwater on 8 Morgan Drive and maybe
I was thinking that too, Kevin.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and do that? Is that suitable to the board?
Leah, that's okay, because everything's opened at the same time.
Yes.
8 Morgan hasn't been opened yet.
Let me just open 8 Morgan so that we can take that. Hold on one second. All right. All right. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, in the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Stormwater Bylaw permit, application for Grafton Wetlands Bylaw permit for the construction of a driveway and stormwater basins at 8 Morgan Drive. All right, so that's open now. So please go ahead and
Okay.
discuss that.
All right, on the north side of the driveway, we have 2 little areas of tension. And basically, these areas both have got, again, bioinfiltration features in their design. The area nearest to Morgan Drive, the entire floor of that basin is bioinfiltration. Again, we use the switchgrass and the dogwood plantings there. And we do have the chip floor in the basin, which I think we would be more than happy to convert over to a loam with a wetland mix in that floor.
Yep.
If that's a good idea.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. If we could just bring up that plan.
I'm sorry?
If we could just bring up that plan.
For 8 Morgan.
Yes, please. There we go. Thank you.
So if you look like nearest Morgan Drive on the north side of the driveway, there's a smaller infiltration area. We again have used bioinfiltration features in that design in the floor of that with switchgrass and dogwood. Also in the primary infiltration basin, we also have bioinfiltration features as well, right near the outlet there, the rear outlet. Again, these are all based on the same basic design. And I think probably we'd be more than happy to convert the chip to a loam with wetland mix seed.
I appreciate that. And then also on 8 Morgan, the peer reviews questions has been addressed.
They have.
Okay. Leah, any comments from you?
I have one question. If we swap over from mulch to the wetland seed mix, are you also keeping those plantings in addition or just seed mix?
No, the plantings are key. We think, in my opinion, is the plantings are key to the bioinfiltration function.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's just the other areas that we're talking about. Yep.
Can I answer questions of board?
Okay. Leah, do you have anything that you want to add at this point, or otherwise I'll go around the commission?
The only comments that I had left were potential conditions and when we start talking about the waiver.
Right. So let me quickly go around the commission first, see if people have other comments or questions. Then we can get back to some of the invasive discussions that we had. So Patrick,
I don't have any comments.
thank you. Jonathan
No comments.
and Travis.
Aside from the waiver, no comments or questions.
All right, thank you. So, and just kind of quickly going back and talking about all 3 of these lots and kind of looking at the potential of doing a fairly, I would consider, a smaller effort to kind of stem some of the invasive plant that exist already on the site. Is there anything else that you're looking at on these sites?
In terms of enhancing.
Just in, yes, exactly. Yep.
Right. I mean, Frank, I guess I would say it would be my opinion that the invasives, that's a pretty good effort. I know it's.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I mean, usually doing invasive removal takes, it takes years, if not decades. And
Right.
I don't think our expectation is of this homeowner to invest that much in that process, but to do something, I think would be appreciated.
Sure.
But yeah, that's pretty tough. Okay.
If
Leah,
I may
should we-
interject,
Yeah.
I think Clayton has dialed in. Clayton Morse, is he able to join the conversation via phone?
Yes, Sandy, in your beginning paragraphs, we have the keys he needs to dial. I think it's *9
yeah.
is raise your hand, and then we'll hit allow to talk, and then I think it's *6 to unmute.
That's correct.
So he's got to do *9 so we know which number is him.
Okay, let me,
And as we wait for that, I'll open it up to anyone else who happens to be attending this meeting. If they have any comments or questions, you can also raise your hand, because just so that we can get some movement on that also.
okay, he says he's just hit *9.
Interesting.
Sorry that this is
Oh, there he is.
cumbersome here. Appreciate it.
I just do want to disclose that I used to work for Davie Resource Group, and I actually did report to Clayton. Just want to disclose that.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I appreciate Clayton calling in, because he's the expert when discussing this matter. So is he available now?
I believe he just needs to unmute.
Okay.
*6. Oh, raised his hand.
Has permission to talk, just needs to unmute with *6.
Oh, he's okay. So okay.
*6, Clayton. I'm texting him here. He's on the verge here. I appreciate you being patient with us.
Some of the challenges of being remote.
Yeah, but I do appreciate being remote. He said he hit *6.
He's
He doesn't.
unmuted.
Yeah, he
You're
doesn't. He
unmuted.
should try talking.
Try talking.
Can anybody hear me now?
Fantastic, Clayton. Thank you so much.
It seemed I had to do each one twice. I think it worked.
So Clayton, this is Scott. I'm not sure if you've been following along or for how long, but we are discussing the possibility of eradicating the Asian wisteria on Lot B. And I mentioned there's a few stems of Tartarian honeysuckle and Japanese knotweed also. But I didn't know if you could give a quick overview of your the approach you folks are going to take for the treatment plan for the commission.
Sure. So my plan would be, and it looks a lot worse than it probably really is. A lot of these vines that are growing up into the trees, they're large, but they can be managed with simply cutting them close to the base and then applying just a little bit of herbicide on that cut surface. My recommendation would be to really get a hold of it is this first year to go in with brush cutters, string trimmers, just hand clips, hand snips or saws, and just kind of bring everything back down. That way, next year in the spring, when the vegetation starts growing back, we can get it really young. So we won't use as much herbicide. We can just go in there with some backpacks, and then I would recommend a third year as a follow-up, just as a spot treatment for anything that might have been missed.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, thank you for that. So
You're welcome.
kind of going around to the commission, I think the key item here is, and Leah, correct me if I go off the rails here. As far as 8 Morgan goes, there is no waiver request for that. So that's pretty separate. I mean, we're looking at all of them together so that we can have, you know, a little bit more enhanced kind of protection of the wetlands. When you're looking at lot A and B, B is the one that they're requesting a waiver from, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and A is not, A they do not need a waiver from.
Correct.
Okay. Now, having said that, I'm just going to go quickly around to the commissioners and kind of get their take on, you know, looking at that and that requirement based on the zoning and having that contiguous upland area. And there's some other things that we need to talk about from a zoning standpoint, but we'll let that rest for a minute. We'll get back to that. But just talking as far as our regulations go, and bylaw goes, is that, you know, we would have to vote to basically grant a waiver for that. We have granted that waiver previously, but they've only been granted on sites that were already existing, and those sites had unique geometry and they had sufficient area to build a house. And so those are the type of waivers we've had in the past. Now, when we grant a waiver, every site in front of us is unique. So for me is that there has to be a reason to grant a waiver, because this is pretty much a created case where they had a larger lot and they're subdividing it. So they had a buildable lot and they're trying to get 2 of them. So this is something new for the commission. And so what I've been, you know, discussing is our main, you know, our main responsibility is protection of the wetlands, and why, and we already heard that there's an alternative that they could actually cross the wetlands and create a different type of layout and still get the 3 lots, but then they're impacting the wetlands. The other thing is what else are they doing on these lots to actually enhance kind of the protection of the wetlands? And today we heard about the invasive. So let me go around to each one of our commissioners to see if they have other questions or any other thoughts on the waiver for Lot B. So Travis, what do you got?
So for the invasive treatment, the plan would be to, are you not suggesting to stump treat any of the vines, just cut everything and then foliar spray with 2,4-D the following year? Is that correct?
I would suggest cut stump treatment and foliar treatment the following year.
Okay, if they're big enough and you can find them. And how big of a, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I would say anything, probably those cut vines would really be the only thing that would need the cut stump treatment.
And how big is the area approximately?
So
Scott, I think you said about a quarter acre.
Quarter
It's
acre.
not quite. So Lot B is, we're talking about the 25-foot buffer strip, and I think I measured that off at 25 by like 175 or something like that. I think that was like 4,000-ish. And then we're talking about, if you look to the north of the house, there's a little bit of trees that will remain in the buffer zone. So we're willing to treat the entire buffer zone portion that's not to be developed, not just the 25. So there's a little bit behind where you see the shed to be removed, sort of plan center. There's an area there that's outside the 25. So it'll be the 25 plus up to the 100-foot buffer zone, just to the north of the house. It was probably 5,000-ish square feet of buffer zone to be managed. And just a couple of points I wanted to get back out there. These vines, and I do have photos. I mean, these are substantial. These things, some of these things are 4 inches in diameter, and they're killing the sugar maples in the buffer zone. So there is a lot of this stuff. So I think it's very important, and it'll definitely protect the wetlands and enhance the buffer zone. The other reminder I wanted to throw out there was, so I think that this lot is about 27,600 square feet of contiguous upland. And the requirement is 30,000. So we're just over 2,000 square feet short. So we're very close. So hope that answered your question, Travis.
It did. Thank you. That's it for me.
All right, thanks. Jonathan, any kind of questions specifically on the request for that waiver for Lot B?
So not a question to the applicant, but more of a question to the commission and you, Sandy, is when I know, like you've stated, each case is an individual case based on our determination of, or the determination of the codes, the rules, every bit of review that we do. But in the past, when we've granted or not granted this, does this fit a similar style? Like they're obviously, you pointed out, it's often granted for old lots or a difficult shape or something that's, bound by what's around it. This is obviously created condition because they've split it, but the creation of that avoids the crossing the wetlands. So it's kind of the lesser of two evils in a way, or what's more, is this typical of the precedent, I guess, is the question for our group. Is this really, that's what I'm asking, is in my time in the commission, I don't remember any point in time doing a waiver regarding something like this with the contiguous upland.
Yeah.
So
And again, it's for me in this long discussion and so forth, it's all about creating that this lot is unique. And it's these set of conditions that will either, persuade you one way or the other to grant it or not. So it's not any one particular thing. It's always those sum of all the different things that kind of add up to being why this is unique and why we would actually vote for it. So, and I understand, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Kevin Quinn with Quinn Engineering. I think I would suggest you one thing. When we began looking at this, we had a plan that mandated we do a stream crossing. And the thought came to us that we could create a plan that eliminated that stream crossing. And it required a little bit of a waiver. But I think that the key is that what we're trying to do is come in with a plan that offers less wetland risk of disruption and truly less wetland disruption. We're not, I understand when we're asking for a waiver, it sounds like we're asking for people to compromise their standards, but we think in this case, we're working with conservation to come up with a plan that we think is advantageous. That's the way I would ask commissioners to consider it is if we came in with a plan that required a stream crossing, that's kind of undesirable. If we can work with conservation to come up with a plan that averts the need for that at all, I think it's advantageous to the perspective of the commissioners, and certainly we don't feel we're asking as much as we're trying to work with conservation to get a better plan.
I appreciate that, but the bottom line is it's always a balance between the right of a property owner to develop the lots, and there's an economic component of that versus the protection of the wetlands. And
Right.
this happens to be our local bylaw that we're trying to follow here.
Mhm.
And it's again trying to be reasonable and to look at the big picture, and that's kind of why we're spending the time on this, so that that we're not being arbitrary, that there is a set of circumstances on why we're doing it in something that's defendable. So that's kind of what we're trying to get at.
I appreciate it. Yep.
All right.
So Sandy, the only other thing that I wanted to mention was I see the note, and the contiguous uplands, has it been satisfied with Bob and the building department yet? Building inspector?
If I may, we have not submitted to Bob, but we've reviewed the calculations, and that it does comply with the bylaw, the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
So if we were to grant the waiver, and then Bob's, or I should say the building inspector, the building department, does not allow for it through, again, that's outside of our realm.
But we're dead in the water. But we would be dead in the water if he doesn't. If Bob doesn't approve us, we don't have anything.
Right. And the only good thing is that, John, that you're absolutely correct. We want to just stick to our bylaw and just, discuss and rule on that, and anything that happens through the building department and their opinions, that's up to them. And so we won't go there. So, all right. So anything else, Jonathan, or?
Nope.
Okay. Patrick.
Yeah, outside of what we've already talked about, I don't think I have any other comments really.
Okay. Leah, do you have anything to add as far as the discussion? Did we miss anything?
So talking through the invasives proposal, I would just, and it's jumping ahead a little bit, but I would just suggest that we have a condition that we get a copy of the write-up of that plan, because tonight is the first I was hearing of that, so I don't have any
Absolutely.
documents for that.
Absolutely.
And then just to further clarify, if restoration work is going to be in the 25-foot, then we'll then have to do a 25-foot waiver vote also.
Oh, yes, I guess you're correct. For the treatment,
Yeah.
for the invasive.
Okay. So, so at this point, I think we've had enough discussion. I think hopefully everyone has come to, understand that, this is the condition on this particular lots, and it's lot B that we're talking about. It's the waiver for the upland area. If anyone has anything more to ask about that, please just, go ahead and speak out and do that. But other than
Wait,
that,
Sandy, just
Yep.
one other thing, and then the seed mix, the native seed mix in the basin itself that we discussed.
Yep.
Leah, how would that be documented? Would that just be another condition as discussed?
we can add that as a condition.
Okay,
Yeah, it would be best if we kind of nailed down that wording this evening, because
Yep.
I'm not sure I completely understood the change.
Yeah, and that, I think that's an easy one. But again, you're absolutely, Travis, that we would want to have a condition that's specific. So let's kind of get the major thing. If someone would like to propose your motion to grant a waiver for the amount of continuous upland area based on the reported areas here. And then we can either have a vote, and if we need to, we can have a discussion. But let's start with a motion so we can move this along.
so I'll make a motion to grant a waiver for the contiguous upland buffer as discussed.
All right, that's the waiver for that. And we have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, I'm going to do a quick poll to see if anyone has any specific comments that you like to talk about before we take the vote. Travis,
No,
Jonathan,
Nope.
and Patrick.
No.
All right, so I'll do a roll call vote. I'm going to start in the opposite direction. Patrick,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Travis.
yes,
I am also a yes, so that motion carries. So the waiver has been granted. Now we get to do the fun part of kind of coming up with the conditions. Because Leah, there's no other reason why we can't get this closed tonight, correct?
Correct, but I just want to throw in there, if you agree with me, we need a second waiver.
Yeah,
We need to
I
grant it.
do. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you got it.
Okay. Yeah. So let's kind of go through the conditions, give the applicant an opportunity to respond to them. I don't think we're going to be talking about anything that we haven't already discussed. And yes, well, I'm going to have to write these down as I kind of go through them. So let's start with the first one for doing the stormwater basins, basically the infiltration basins. And so that condition would be to have a general wetland seed mix along, at the bottom of the infiltration basin.
in addition to the
that-
slopes.
Yeah, and then, a seed mix for the slopes. And that those seed mixes should be submitted for the agent to review prior to construction. But I think we've already discussed what we were talking about. All right. So I would go back to the applicant. Is that condition something that that meets with what we discussed?
It is, except that we were also gonna put in loam, in replace the mulch with loam.
Okay, so basically it's not going to be a full depth bioretention soil mix, and you're just suggesting putting loam in there. I am fine with that.
Okay.
Okay.
And if I may, Madam Chair, we're not specifying New England wet mix, are we? We said general seed mix.
So to me, it's a wetland seed mix. You guys can pick. I'm not going to
Okay.
tell you what vendor to use. The New England wetland seed mix. I mean, it's just something that I can relate to.
It's the
But it
one,
would have
yeah,
Yeah, it's just the
I'm
the
saying
most popular
clean
one.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's one of those things where I don't care what seed mix you use, as long as it has those general type of plants that has a robust number of plants so they can self-select. And the same thing
gotcha.
with a seed mix appropriate for the slope, which could be an erosion control mix. It could be, whatever kind of
Yeah.
fits with that.
Yeah, familiar with them, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So that's one condition. Okay. Okay, so another one which I think was pretty well described here is kind of the invasive kind of action on the different lots. As applicable to each lot. Basically, it will be, and please correct me if I'm kind of get off a little bit, but it's a 3-year process to I'm just going to call it mitigate invasives within the 25-foot buffer and other areas within the 100-foot buffer not being disturbed. Is that
Correct.
kind of
Correct. That's the proposal, yes.
okay? See, I was listening.
Thank you.
And then the other part of that is a written narrative, a written plan
Yep, we can get
shall
that
be
right over
submitted
to
with
you.
that. Yeah, my cat's coming up to give his opinion. Okay. Leah, do you see any kind of issues with that?
So for the sake of clarification, again, the basin stuff goes to all 3 lots. The
Correct.
invasive conditions is just A and B, not 8 Morgan, or is it only B?
Just be.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. All right. Anything else for conditions based on this conversation, Leah, that I'm missing?
Yeah, dewatering basins shall be utilized during excavation of the wells. I think we talked about that one last time.
Yep.
That's on A and B, but doesn't need to be on 8 Morgan. And then I would just have one pointing to the O&M plan for their stormwater infrastructure.
Okay. So to the applicant, any issues with those 2 other conditions?
No, no problem.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now, I think we have no other special conditions at this point, but we do have one other piece of task that we need to do, which is to grant a waiver, which is associated with the invasive plant kind of actions, is to allow for work within the buffer zone. And then, Leah, anything else associated with that?
Nope.
Okay, so can I have a motion to grant a waiver for work within the 25-foot no disturbance area for the purpose of invasive removal?
I'll make a motion to grant the waiver for work in the 25-foot no disturb buffer to allow for invasive species control.
All right, do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Patrick,
yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Jonathan?
Yes.
I am also a yes on that. Okay. The only other thing that, Leah, I think we should do is some findings. just so that we can document why we're, why the waivers were granted,
Okay.
just so that we have it for the future. And so, and I'll need a little help here, but to me, the findings are that based on the information received and the enhancements to the protection of the wetlands, the avoidance of additional work within the wetlands, and the proposed invasive species removal plan, that, all of these are, unique and provide, enhanced protection of the wetlands. And therefore, that is why the waiver for the upland area was granted. Does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
Okay. And to the applicant, any issues with that finding?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Anything else as far as conditions or findings, Leah, that we should be
Nope.
okay? I'll do one kind of last quick question around to the commissioners if they have anything else that they think should be added to conditions or any other findings. Travis.
Nope.
Jonathan.
Nope.
And Patrick.
Nope, that makes sense.
Okay, so based on that, we're gonna have a vote. Or we're gonna have basically a motion to close the public hearing and issue the order of conditions, and to include the conditions previously discussed. Any reason, Leah, not to go to that next step?
You can we just combine the two hearings into a joint motion? Because we kind of discussed them all at the same time.
I think that's absolutely fine if someone could do
Okay.
that. The only other thing is that I know I mentioned earlier about the public, if anyone had any comments or questions, to please raise their hand. We haven't seen anyone raise their hand, correct? So I'm just giving that
Correct.
opportunity for public comment or questions. Haven't seen that. Not anyone raising their hand. Can I have a motion, as Leah indicated, for both of these public hearings to close the hearing and approve the conditions as discussed to the applicable lots as discussed?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing for Old Westboro Road and Morgan Drive and issue the order of conditions along with the special conditions as discussed.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
So a motion is second, roll call vote. Patrick,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
and Jonathan.
Yes.
I am also a yes, and good luck with this, and thank you for our patience. Just how long we took, we were trying to be very deliberate because this is not something we typically do. We wanted to make sure that we were following what our responsibilities are in protection of the wetlands. So appreciate the the patience to go through this so that we can get to some place that actually provides that enhanced protection of the wetlands. So
Absolutely.
Thank you. Board's
all
very
right,
thorough.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
All right.
Good
thanks,
luck
guys.
with your with your new houses and so forth. So all
Awesome. Thank you so much.
right. All right, Leah, what else do we have?
I think that might be it.
Okay, yeah, and thanks everyone for the patience. I don't know, I think it's important that we document why we did it, because sometime in the future, something else will come up.
Right.
So
Yeah.
appreciate that.
That's all I have.
Okay, fabulous. We have one motion left.
Adjourn.
I did hear a voice
Second.
and we have a second. Quickest roll call, Travis,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries. So thank you, everyone.